How's it going, everyone? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and welcome to the 42nd episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined by the one and only Destin Legarie of IGN, and more recently, the Destin channel on YouTube. Destin, how are you doing on this fine Saturday?
I am doing great, and I have to do my patent and bam at the beginning of the show. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to talk about Xbox with you.
Yeah,
I may have played New World a little late last night on accident until like 4 a.m. and still happy to be here, ready to talk about games.
I know you got your big gulp of coffee ready to rock. I appreciate you, despite being up till 4 a.m., getting up early on a Saturday morning to hang out with me and talk about video games. We have a pretty stacked show today. A lot happened this week. We're going to be talking about Xbox Game Pass growth. We are going to be talking about we're going to be talking about Xbox at the Tokyo Game Show. We're going to be talking about Konami possibly bringing back some of their most beloved franchises. We're going to be talking about Halo Infinite and so much more. But before we dive into all of that, I'm sure everyone here already knows, but for the folks who don't, let everyone know who you are, where they can find you, and why you love gaming.
Yeah, so I'm Destin. My full-time job is I work at IGN. You know, that's my like 9 to 5. But then at night, 1:30 a.m., I take off the chains of corporate America and I make YouTube videos. I don't know what I'm saying. Yeah, so I work at IGN during the day, and then at night I post YouTube videos over on youtube.com/the Destin channel. And largely they're just vlogs. Like I just kind of I like to have it as an outlet to talk about the news of the day. And one thing that has been really fascinating for me to discuss is specifically the strategy that PlayStation has implemented and Xbox has implemented. And part of the reason that's so fascinating to me is because during the Xbox One launch time, Xbox almost died to the point that Satya Nadella and Phil were talking about axing it, and Phil stepped up and said, "No, let's make this happen." But it sort of was like this dramatic shift from the 360 era where Xbox was on top and PlayStation was, charging the most for the console, having like issues with the software on the PS3 hardware. And then it totally flip-flopped for the PS4 era. And it's just sort of really, really fascinating to see how Sony has changed their strategy and how Xbox has grown and sort of gotten back on the track, so to speak, to where they used to be in the 360 era. And I really do think that they are going to continue to improve from there. You asked why I love gaming. That's a tough question to answer. And I just do.
I just
I'm trying to think. There was a long time there, like during the N64 era, I would just sort of play games at my friends or whatever. But when the GameCube and the PS2 and the Xbox, I think that's the right era. Anyway, when those consoles came out and were super popular, I was really into PlayStation at the time, and then I got Xbox and GameCube later on, and that's really when I got back. I forced myself to learn how to play Metal Gear Solid. I saw Halo at a party, and I had to get an Xbox. Like that was my in for the Xbox brand. And then I started playing Rainbow Six 3 because that was like the game that made Xbox Live for me. Because the original Halo wasn't really on Xbox Live. You could do some like sort of Xbox Connect stuff to get on there, which I did. But it wasn't until Halo 2 that the online component was actually implemented. And I don't know. Then I started writing for like My Gamer, and like I've always had this love for gaming ever since I was a kid, ever since the NES days. And but the question was, why do you love gaming? I just do. And I don't know. Like, there's nothing else I would rather do for a career. I always want to work in games in some capacity. And like the idea of going to work in a warehouse like I used to again or something like that isn't super appealing. So I love what I do, and I'm very happy to be on the show today. Thank you for letting me ramble.
That is beautiful. I really appreciate it. It doesn't need to be complicated. That's the beauty of gaming, is it's something that we can love wholeheartedly, and we don't really have to have a convoluted reason why. I am stoked to have you on for a lot of reasons. I'm fairly new to the quote unquote industry. So before, when I was working my, boring high level corporate sales job, when I was driving between accounts, I had a lot of gaming podcasts on. Despite the fact that I was outside of the space, I was still immersed in gaming. So Unlocked, IGN, a lot of these outlets that have been in the space putting out high level work were huge inspirations for me and what I do with Windows Central. So to have you on the show today means a ton to me, and I'm stoked that you would take some time to join me. So let's get into it. Let's get into the first topic, which is something that's hot on everyone's mind, and that's Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite big team battles are out in the wild. People are playing them. I spent 4 hours yesterday playing big team battles on one map. There's only one map, handful of modes. I spent 4 hours, and I want more. I want more big team battles in my life. So we talked a little bit about the show. You haven't got your hands on big team battles yet, but you've seen some of the kind of footage online, right?
Yeah, so here's what happened with me. The first one came out, and I no-lifed it, like all weekend long, exactly like you're describing. Big, long stretches of game time, just obsessed over Halo Infinite. I did the preview for IGN, and I have no worries at all about Halo Infinite multiplayer. Even with the issues that they've identified on PC, the issues they had with the original test flight, it's been just awesome. Like when it works, it's phenomenal, and I can't wait to see the game actually come out and have all the modes available. Fruit physics notwithstanding, like I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, the fruit physics might be a deal breaker for some folks, and that
Yeah.
sucks. That's sad to hear. But if you ignore the fruit physics, the sandbox that they have created in Halo multiplayer is super impressive. One thing that I love is, despite the, no fruit physics, there are physics to so many things in the world. Little objects, the animals, your weapons, your grenades, vehicles. You'll notice the destruction for vehicles. When you blow off the wheel of a mongoose, the axle actually vibrates on the ground. So there's all these moving parts individually that we didn't see in previous Halo games. It was just a static explosion animation, and that was it. But there's high level destruction for vehicles. You go into a room that has chairs, that has computers, all those things move around and explode. So if you throw a grenade in that room, it's just an explosion of physics. And those little details have kind of, for me, always been why the Halo sandbox has felt so good. And to see Halo Infinite take what makes Halo great and expand upon it without losing anything is really impressive. And
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's honestly, like you're right. It's really really awesome. And my favorite thing to do is, one of my favorite YouTubers is Mint Blitz. He's this ridiculously good Halo player, and he hops into Halo Infinite and just does all this insane stuff. I've seen some trending tweets from other players, just like somebody got his ghost jacked, but he had the grapple shot. So
Yes.
the dude drives the ghost off of the thing, but he uses the grapple shot and is able to recover. I've seen somebody shoot a skewer out of the man cannon and then like reflect it somehow and get a kill with somebody. It's so cool to just see, like you said, all the physics and all the things that you can do within this world. And I think to me, it's reminiscent of how much I loved Halo 2 and Halo 3's multiplayer, getting to play both of those. And, now we have something that feels modern, it feels new, it feels different, and has all these technical things going for it. And it is just a blast to play. Like, it's really, really fun. Yeah, it's so good. See, you're going to get me off of my New World kick, and you're going to make me boot it up right now. You know what I did do, though? I didn't do Big Team Battle, but I hopped in to do the weapon drills for the sniper again, because I love doing the weapon drills, and I want to see if I can beat my, like 42,000 score for the sniper with the new random AI robots on tier 3. So
I also love the weapon drills because historically, as much as I've loved Halo, I have never been a sniper elite player. It's never been my play style. I've never, had enough opportunities to really practice with it. So I love with the weapon drills that I can just go in there, I can pick up the sniper and I can fine tune my aiming. I dialed in my sensitivity for the sniper rifle. And now when I get into a match, I get excited when I see that sniper rifle. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing now. I got this big gun and I'm going to get some kills.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I actually really, really love weapon drills because it sort of gives you an opportunity to try out all the weapons as by design, right? And I would avoid the sniper rifle in all games, just like you. I'd be like, somebody else should take it. Like, I'm not going to be able to hit anything with it. And now I'm like, no, I want to pick it up and I want to try it in a live environment and see if I can actually hit those shots. And I have improved a little bit in the actual game. So like kudos on weapon drills. It's really, really smart. I actually like the improvements they did from the first flight to the second with them also, because you need a little bit of the randomness with the robots and able to actually improve your skills with a gun like that.
Yeah, so the weapon drills are huge, and I love that that's something you can compete for that high score and push yourself to do a little bit better. When it comes to the overall feel of big team battles, I went into this preview excited after Slayer because everything felt really good. But for me, big team battles has always been why I love Halo. It's the mode I play the most. It's pretty much exclusively the mode I play. So I was, very optimistic, but also scared that maybe big team battle, like maybe arena was fire, perfect, and then maybe they messed up big team battles, and that was gonna hurt my overall hype for Halo. But exact opposite. We were playing. We had a 12-man squad last night. Snowbike Mike, a bunch of the kind of funny guys, James Shields, a bunch of people from Xbox. We had 12 people in a squad, and we were just steamrolling capture the flag, steamrolling the objective points. We were coordinating these ridiculously stealthy flag grabs, and like having that, experiencing that with a huge group. Oh, it just warmed my heart, Destin, so much.
That's good. Those poor recruit robots that you were facing. No, just kidding.
No, they were players. They were humans. Okay, we're good. We're good at Halo.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's great to hear like positive memories and just positive things coming from the community, because a lot of people were worried about Halo Infinite. And well, I still have my doubts about the campaign, especially with the last second changes to campaign and Forge. I just seeing everybody play, seeing the reaction to it, I'm like, Halo Infinite multiplayer, it's gonna have staying power. It's just I hope everybody is getting a chance who's watching, probably has gotten a chance to play this weekend, because it is so good. And like Miles, it's just hard to convey it if you haven't had the opportunity to do it. You've talked about the physicality of all of the things in the world. The gunplay feels really, really balanced, because even the starter combo that you get with the AR and the pistol starter, like it's really good. It gives you a mid-range and a close range, and they work really, really well together. And then you can sort of mix and match as you pick that stuff up on the battlefield. And because there is like a set amount of weapons, there's going to be a way that 343 is able to balance that sandbox. And it's really, really good. It's really good.
Shout out to 343 for making the assault rifle feel good. The assault rifle is a viable weapon now, which for a long time, like everyone went to BR, like a lot of the default modes you started with the BR. So nobody used the assault rifle in the last like 3 Halo games. So the fact that it's the default here and it feels good and you can get kills with it consistently, it makes not only having the AR more exciting, but it makes all the other, like the plasma pistol is now considered a power weapon. The Needler is considered a power weapon. All these like trivial kind of weapons before all have a purpose, all feel meaningful. So no matter what weapon you get in this sandbox, you feel excited. You feel good because no matter what you pick up, you can kill people with it. And that is hard to pull off.
Yeah. What's been your favorite like actual power weapon? Because for me, like the skewer, that was a lot of fun in the initial one. Like getting headshots and no scoping with that thing a few times was that was pretty cool to pull off, first of all. But I like how it's just like junk. Like the sound design of it is awesome, and that the satisfying sounds when you get that kill, the pa-ching, and like the sound design really reinforces that positive aspect of hey, you did something good at the game, and hey, you should feel powerful using this weapon, like the sniper rifle. everything about the sound has just been absolutely great also, and that all sort of goes back into like this stellar gameplay that we're all enjoying.
Yeah, you bring up an excellent point about the sound design. Cannot give the team enough praises on the overall sound design of this. Everything sounds mean. Every gun that you get, the skewer, like you mentioned, that sounds like it's got weight. So when you shoot it and you hit the player, you feel that impact. And the commando has kind of become one of my favorites because at first I sucked. I was like, I don't get this gun. It's like a battle rifle that's fully automatic, but it's got so much kick that I could not kill anyone with it. I was like, man, this gun sucks. It sounds mean, it's tough, but I cannot aim. And then once I figured out, like, oh, just start at their chest and then the recoil will just kick up to their head, I was like, oh my, the commando is incredible. And you just feel like a badass every time you have it.
Yeah, I have to wonder if they tweaked it from the original one, but once you sort of get like the feel of that gun, you're like, okay, I get what they're going for here, right?
Exactly. And that's what I love about weapon drills. That's what I love about every weapon. Weapons that at first I was like, I don't really get this. Like the heat wave. When I first picked that up and it has the horizontal versus vertical, I was like, horizontal, I can't get kills. I'm shooting people 4 times with this and I'm not killing them. Then I switched to vertical and it's like 2 shots and they're dead. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm getting this now. Horizontals for vehicles, verticals for players. Let's go. This thing's awesome. So
yeah, really love that gun.
Are we pulling you? Are you going to play some big team battle at all this weekend, or is New Worlds?
I have to.
You have to.
I have to. I got really hooked on New World. Like I'll boot it up right now while we're recording, just so I know that I have it ready to go, and I can say, okay, I played big team battle. I'm sorry, everybody. I've been playing Death Stranding because I got a bunch of crap for having not played that yet, and I'm playing. I'll be playing big team battle in New World. So yeah.
Because I was excited after Arena. I felt really good about Arena. I felt good enough to say that, in terms of just raw gameplay feel, that Halo Infinite feels the best of any Halo. I've been going back and replaying the Master Chief Collection, replaying Halo 5. Spent the last month just basically playing Halo every single day, playing all the Halos to see kind of the differences and how everything feels different. And each Halo introduces new mechanics, changes the way guns work. And then I played Halo Infinite Arena last weekend. And then I went back to the Master Chief Collection and I was like, this feels kind of bad. And I was like, I love Halo. I love the original Halos. And so for me to play Halo Infinite and go back to these games that I love and be like, I don't really like this as much, that is a huge testament to how amazing Halo Infinite feels to me.
Yeah, I think what they've done is they've really managed to get this mix of modern Halo and how a modern shooter should feel, but keeping the heart of what Halo is. So when you do go back to those games, you can clearly see the influences that have made Halo Infinite multiplayer. But Halo Infinite multiplayer is just sort of standing on its own as this phenomenal experience, and it's keeping the core heart of what Halo is. And I think that's why people like this. It feels like you're playing Halo. Right? It definitely feels like Halo. It's an experience unlike any other game that you've really played in the multiplayer space. So going back and playing the old ones, you're like, okay, well, I see the influences, but Infinite's definitely better, in my opinion, also. You brought up that you're a big team battle guy. I'm a Slayer player. I've always played Slayer. I love SWAT.
Yes, SWAT is
Slayer. Like those are my modes. Big team battle. I'll go check it out, but it's like it's not my main mode. So that's part of the reason also. Like even when I did play the previous flight, I just went and played more Slayer. So and I was like, oh well, that's fine. I got the like third map that they released. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Bizarre, but or was that the second one?
Yeah, there's Bizarre, Livewire, and Recharge, and
yeah,
God.
Is Recharge the one with the hammer behind the waterfall?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so it was Bizarre then. Yeah, so I got Bizarre a bunch of times, played it, loved it. I'm like, yep, still love this game. Halo Infinite, also free. So people should remember that. I don't know how they're going to make money on that because obviously the battle pass, but it's cool. Yeah.
So I guess I'll ask kind of a general question on where you stand on Halo right now. You touched on it briefly. You do have some concerns regarding the campaign and some of these last minute delays. What's your overall excitement for Halo Infinite?
very excited. Halo is the reason that I work in the industry. So I made this video when Halo 3 came out called We Love Halo 3, and I won a game trailers contest. So I have a poster signed by like the entirety of Bungie at the time who was working on Halo 3. And I used that money to buy a camera. And then I started doing news videos before anybody did news videos with the stuff that I bought. And it's the reason that I'm in the industry. So Halo's definitely on my list of games that mean a lot to me personally, not only because it made my career, because I played so much that I was inspired to make content, right? And that was sort of the first time that I started veering into video content. And yeah, so talking about separately though, like what I'm worried about. So I'm not worried about multiplayer. Multiplayer seems like it's going to be great. Hopefully they fix the stability issues on PC. I know I brought that up earlier, but even 343 identified, hey, yeah, it's still not where we want it. Hopefully they're able to finally get that refined enough that they're happy with it, and that the community on a wide range graphic cards are able to like at least hold 60, right? 60 at 1080 should be like the base standard for any PC shooter. So the reason I'm concerned about the campaign is because when Staten came back, and it's just really surprising to me that we had two confirmations that would launch with co-op, and then that person leaves, and then Staten comes back, and Staten's like, no.
No.
So, like, what situation did he walk into where they're still addressing these issues with multiplayer? Like, remember they delayed it a year. And this is why I'm concerned, because there were still issues with multiplayer as of that first flight. I am glad that they're addressing these issues and correcting them, and I do feel like multiplayer is going to be in a great spot for launch. But to have somebody come in after being promised multiple times that the game would launch with co-op, and then saying we're not doing that, it's not in a place we need to, and that's the messaging that he has to deliver, and also we're not going to launch with Forge. What problems had to arise that campaign co-op and Forge had to be put on the back burner, right? Like, did they have to like overhaul? Did Staten come in and just be like, what are you doing with this campaign? We have to overhaul this and that and etc. Or like was multiplayer just in such rough shape that they just had to go all hands on deck on multiplayer? To me, these are like red flag issues that had me really, really concerned about Halo Infinite. And I can fanboy all I want about the multiplayer, but to not recognize that something is up when you're delaying two very significant modes for a franchise like Halo. I think in the long run, like, people won't even remember that they might
Yeah.
remember, but like in 5 years when people are playing through the campaign, I don't think as many people will be focusing on this, because
No,
the
not really.
campaign is actually launching at a lower price point, and multiplayer is free. So yeah, but that's why I'm concerned. I'm excited, but it was when they came out and announced those delays, it's the first time I've looked at the Halo Infinite franchise and said, okay, like, I had been a big champion saying I'm not worried about it, 343 is going to do fine, et cetera, et cetera. And then that happened, and I'm like, okay, now I'm worried. Wasn't worried, was champion, like I'm very confident in this, I'm really, really stoked about it. And yeah, not complaining about the beta or anything like that. I understand, or the flight, I understand why they're doing it and they're testing everything out. But it's concerning when you come out on the world stage that is the internet and say, hey, we have to delay two flagship modes after multiple times of promising it would be there at launch, to the point that it even sounded confident that it would be there at launch, right? The first time, it will definitely be there. The second time, like I've said, it will definitely be there. Staten comes back on board. Nope. I'm just like, what did he walk into? I would love to have just heard like what was going on with all that, right?
Yeah, I feel similarly in a lot of ways, because like you, before those core feature delays, I had nothing, I had no negative thoughts about where Halo Infinite would be. After they came in and said, you know what, we're giving this 1 year. We heard your feedback about the graphical quality. We want to make sure that when we launch Halo Infinite, it is a big deal. It is a big splash. And so I was like, kudos to them. Like, if a game needs more time, a game needs more time. Like, I've always championed that. That will never change. And then the first arena, the first flight came out, and I was like, my God, this game feels so good. And then I
Yeah.
was like, yes, Halo, they're killing. Like the sandbox is great. This is gonna feel great. And then shortly after, they're like, no campaign co-op, no Forge. And for me, I've talked about this on the show, and people have got upset at me for saying this, but co-op for me in terms of the Halo campaign is crucial to how I enjoy, how I experience Halo. And for me, the fact that it's launching without campaign co-op means that I will not be able to enjoy Halo Infinite as much as I would have. And that's
Yeah.
that's it. I'm not saying Halo Infinite will be bad. I don't think there's any world where Halo Infinite's campaign is not at least good. Will it be great? Will it be amazing? Will it be the best Halo campaign? We have to wait and see. We really do. But even if the story is complete garbage, even if the story is dumb, terrible, the game will feel great. If the campaign is anything like multiplayer, it will feel fun, it will be amazing, the physics will be great, the sandbox will be great, and for those reasons, it should be a fun campaign, regardless of what the story ends up being. That being said, even if the campaign isn't that great, like what I've experienced of the multiplayer tells me that Halo Infinite is going to be massive. Halo Infinite's going to be a huge hit. People are going to play it. It's free to play. It feels incredible. And it's brought in like friends that I haven't played with in years and years, who haven't really played gaming in a while, are coming back, buying new Xboxes, getting excited about Halo, and they're ready to dive in. So Halo Infinite's going to be huge. Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going to be massive. I am hoping that sometime before launch, we see Halo Infinite. I want to get my hands on the campaign.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I'm not going to say anything definitively either way on the campaign until I've gotten my hands on it. Because like you, when you delay these features kind of this close to launch, there is concerns.
Especially after a 1 year delay. Like that's why it's concerning, because they delayed it a year and then they're like, we have to delay 2 core features. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, and the state of the industry it's weird. Like COVID cannot be understated. The impacts of COVID, especially on these big teams, cannot be understated. I've gotten information from developers that say, before we could test 20 builds a week, now we can only test 2. And that cannot be understated, and maybe that is a reason that there are these delays to features, that they're encountering bugs that can't be ironed out, and they're not trying to crunch their team to get this game out on time. And it is what it is. Like you said, I think at the end of the day, if Halo Infinite comes out and the campaign feels great, nobody's gonna care. Nobody's really gonna care.
You brought up story, and actually you said the story could be awful, and the first thing I thought was like, yeah, it could be Halo 5 story. Halo 5 story was so underwhelming and disappointing for me on a level that honestly made me not like Halo for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. The fact that we were lied to about the Locke Master Chief relationship and how that was going to play out with the Truth podcast that came out, like they built it up so significantly, and it turned out to like a punch, and that's basically the whole combat scenario that Locke and Chief went through. And there's all these meme videos actually about how other people sort of felt the same way. They were tremendously disappointed in how Locke's character was written and how the conflict between Chief and Locke were. And then there's the whole relationship with Cortana and how it just feels like a big breakup campaign. You didn't play as Master Chief enough. Like Halo 5 was so problematic from a campaign perspective. I was really excited to see in Halo Infinite, we're sort of going back to the roots, sort of going to be focusing more on, well, you'll be Master Chief through the entirety as far as we know. I'm really, really excited about that. Now, I hope they deliver on the narrative. The one thing we did see recently about it was when it's a brief scene, but it was when we saw new Cortana for the first time, and Chief sort of goes through the space, and he has this moment of reflection when he takes a weapon from a fallen Marine, and that really spoke to me. That has me really hopeful about the campaign beats that we're going to be able to play. I've managed to avoid spoilers.
Me too.
Thankfully. Well, people posted it, but I can't remember anything, so it's sort of like a bonus, But yeah, somebody did post a piece of concept art that does sort of have me excited about what could happen. seeing the emotion that Chief can convey while he's in that big set of armor floating through space in just a few scenes, the pauses with how the dialogue is delivered. uh I'm very hopeful about the campaign, but I'm cautious because I was burned so bad by Halo 5. Halo 4, the start of, I think it was supposed to be a trilogy originally.
Yeah.
Um, so I was really blown away by what they were able to do graphically with Halo 4. I really, really enjoyed that campaign. I don't love the new enemies, you know. Um, I'm really happy that we're going to be fighting brutes again, that we're going to be sort of seeing the fallout of the Covenant brute war. I can't remember what happened there, but but yeah, the fact that we're fighting familiar looking enemies like the remnants, right? So I'm excited about it. I'm hopeful about the campaign of Halo Infinite. I am very, very excited to hop in there and play, but knowing that I cannot push my friends off the edge of the Halo ring on day one is disappointing. I got to wait 3 months.
I keep having this vision that breaks my heart. Is you know they're going to recreate the Warthog drop. This is a spiritual reboot of Halo, and that first moment in Halo Combat Evolved where the Warthog comes down and they give you the sprawling landscape to drive. You know that's going to happen again in some way. Me imagining myself doing that alone, it hurts. It hurts my soul a little bit to know that I'm going to be in a Warthog and none of my buddies are going to be my gunner. I'm just going to be.
Well, they're also recreating the Halo 1 experience when you couldn't play online.
That's true.
You couldn't play co-op in Halo 1. Oh man, I was just gonna make a joke. I'm sorry. That was mean-spirited. Yeah, it's like there's no way to play with other people. It sucks.
It's a little bummer, but overall, I will say I'm incredibly excited. It's been a roller coaster of emotions because, like we talked about, after the first flight, and generally speaking, I was really excited about Halo Infinite. Those delays came, and I was like, no, all my grandiose ideas of what Halo Infinite could be at launch and how this is going to reinvigorate the franchise, like that's diminishing now. It's dwindling. The hope is dying. And then, again, got to play some more Halo. I was like, Halo feels good. This is going to be cool. I'm excited.
I'm still excited about the campaign. I'm like really hopeful that it's excellent. And Staten being back there, like having written a book about Halo and having written like all the lore about Halo, also, I'm excited to see what he's contributed there and hopefully corrected to make this just a phenomenal story. I think 343 knows how negatively received the Halo 5 campaign was, and they know they can't screw this up. Like if the campaign's bad, it's going to be really problematic. But at least we know already multiplayer is awesome. Like
yes.
There's no doubt in my mind multiplayer is going to be great. People are not going to have an issue with multiplayer. It's going to be going for years, it seems like as long as they have reasons for you to sign on every week, people are going to be playing that game for a long time.
Yep, and that's huge. That is kind of the future of multiplayer, and they get that. And watching the deep dives with developers and listening to Joseph Staten talk about this project, they understand how important Halo is. They all love Halo. Like there is no doubt that anyone on this team doesn't love Halo because they are all in. They understand what makes Halo great. And like I said, if the campaign feels like this, then that's a win in my eyes. Again, Halo 5, I personally didn't have a huge problem with. It definitely was a weak entry from a campaign perspective. But
wait. You didn't have a problem with the Halo 5 campaign.
I didn't.
Look, I know we're all Xbox fans here.
I said I didn't.
Like that campaign's bad.
Hold on. I said I didn't have a huge problem. I didn't love it. It wasn't a mind-blowing campaign.
What did you like about it?
That I could play co-op.
No. Okay, fair enough. I like the chapter 3 when you get to play as Chief. I like that part.
I would say
the other time.
The biggest issues that Halo 5 had were the parts where you were in a town just talking to people. Completely killed the momentum of the game. If they just took those segments out and you just had the levels back to back, I don't think it would have been as negatively received, but the pacing was horrible.
It's just the writing for me. The writing is just so disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't want to harp on because like somebody wrote that. Somebody spent years of their life coming up with that idea of what that campaign is going to be. And it just didn't work. It didn't work on so many levels as a narrative experience, and it really bums me out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were.
sorry, Miles, I keep interrupting. There's threads there of greatness that just go nowhere. The relationship with Halsey doesn't really go anywhere. The relationship with Locke just ends. Like, it's bringing back the Arbiter, and then he's there. Like, come on. They were yeah.
I do get it. I'm not saying that Halo 5 is the best Halo campaign, but I think it wasn't abysmal. It wasn't like unplayably bad. But
you could play it and skip all the cutscenes and skip all the dialogue.
Mash A and you're having fun. It's just a good old fashioned Halo game.
That's gameplay.
Yes.
That's not story.
Yes.
So.
And story is important for Halo. I know there's books. One of my teammates reads all the Halo books, tries to tell me all the Halo lore, and I'm like, that's cool. I need just enough to explain why I'm shooting things. Like, I understand the value and weight of a Halo story. I just want to shoot some stuff, though. That's kind of where I'm at.
We know the gameplay is going to be awesome.
So that's why I'm saying I'm feeling good. Again, even if that story is terrible, I'm gonna have fun. I'm gonna be playing Halo with a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
I got to give a quick shout out to the 250 people hanging with us live right now. If you guys are digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. We are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to get to some super chats here. We got Sergeant Rake who says, shoot the fruit. Hope you and Destin both are well on this fine Saturday morning. Appreciate you too. Harji Chani with a super chat says, Destin, hope things are going well with the new child. Looking forward to the return of BAM on Unlocked.
Very soon, very soon. I think not next week, the week after I'm back. And my son's doing great, so thank you.
Mr. Joanna Dark says, hello to Destin and the GOAT, Miles. Destin, longtime fan of your content and enjoy listening to your thoughts on all things gaming. Lots of Destin
until I complained about Halo 5 for it.
Yeah,
and they're like, maybe not that part so much.
People in the chat are like, whoa, shut up.
Yeah.
Mr. Joanna Dark again, with rumors of Metal Gear Solid coming back, do you think we ever see a reimagining of Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2? We see a new version of Metal Gear Solid 5 with the missing content. We're going to touch on Metal Gear Solid more in depth here later on in the show. Appreciate that. We will touch on all of that juicy Metal Gear Solid talk. Brian Hopkins says, two of my favorite folks talking Xbox on a Saturday morning. Thanks for the show, guys. Appreciate you, Brian. Thank you. RDX, son of a vet, says the Sauce's video about sacred symbols is gold. I did watch Gaz's Sauce video. I did watch it, and I'll say that. Harji Chani says, defending Miles, the campaign for Halo 5 could have actually had bad gameplay. It was still Halo. Just the story felt flat, especially after the build-up. Yeah, Halo 5. It's a controversial Halo entry for sure.
Yeah. There's cool gameplay stuff in there.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Like, the gameplay is fine. It's not that's not why I play the campaign though. I play for yes, you play for the gameplay, but like, marry it with a good story. The original Halo story is like, I actually really like that what they were able to accomplish with the technology when the original Halo came out. Halo 2 the same, didn't like the cliffhanger. Halo 3 wrapping it all up. Halo Reach, like, I think about the stories told in those campaign experiences, and I hope Halo Infinite is able to come even close to where those did.
Yeah, and like you touched on, some of the beats we've seen from these campaigns, like tidbits, these small slices, show that there's the potential there. Show to have meaningful relationships between Chief, the pilot character that we've seen, that moment you talked about with Chief recognizing the kind of loss and the casualties of this war he's fighting and gently pushing one of his soldiers aside to grab this weapon. There's these moments that are impactful, and I hope the campaign has a lot of those.
Can I talk about the Sacred Symbols clip for a second, actually? Because y'all got. That's a heavily edited clip. If you watch the full video, they actually make points about both companies acquiring companies. But there's people out there on the internet that do it to me a lot. They'll take something that you say, they cut out any additional context that actually makes your point balanced and relevant, and they just post it on Twitter. And then Twitter gets like all in an uproar because they only see this brief snippet that sort of reinforces a negative ideal. So if you're falling for that, go at least watch the original source,
Yeah.
because you're basically falling right into the trap and the attention that those users want. So Colin actually responded and said, well, here's the full on edited version of it. And surprise, surprise, nobody watches it, right? Like nobody watches the unedited version because they've already decided I'm mad about everything. And then they go off. But like when you actually watch it with full context, yeah. So it happens to me all the time. And that one was just a controversial one because they only cut out the negative Xbox stuff, which of
Uh-huh.
course riled everybody up, right?
So yeah, if you have seen that kind of viral video going around, watch Colin's response just to get at least a full picture of it. There was something
Yeah,
similar that
Colin's
I
not stupid. Like anybody who thinks Colin is stupid is just flat out wrong. He's very intelligent and he knows the industry. So, yeah, just seeing that go around, I'm like, I work with Colin. He's not a dumb man. He knows he knows enough about the industry to have a balanced conversation about it.
there was another clip similar from the Halo stream that
Mhm.
basically was talking about the weapon drills and how they asked like, are there going to be leaderboards in the weapon drills? And they're like, there's not leaderboards, but we'll think about adding it later. And people took that clip, shared it, and said Halo Infinite is not going to have leaderboards, completely eliminating any context to that. So I had to I saw people sharing it and quotes reading it, so I had to be like, hold up. For context, this is the whole situation. There will not be leaderboards for the weapon drills, but maybe later. But again, yeah, context is key. Context is
Mhm.
critical. So, yeah, before you dunk on someone or try to dunk on something, at least have the full picture.
Twitter's pretty awful, actually, and Twitter doesn't seem to care about it at all. So yeah, I know a lot of people have just sort of said, yeah, I'm going to stop using Twitter as much because it has gotten to a place where basically you're being manipulated if you're getting riled up by a lot of these posts, and people are starting to recognize I'm really mad a lot when I'm on this platform. Like what's going on? And Twitter reinforces negative behavior with positive interactions. Basically, there's no if you take somebody out of context and post something, as a content creator, you can't do anything about it. Twitter won't pull it down. It just stays up. They won't label it like without they don't do anything. Twitter doesn't care, so
It's all about
yeah.
that. It's all
And
about the engagement, Destin. All right,
yeah,
engagement at any cost.
yeah.
But I'm a hopeless optimistic. I think generally Twitter is fun, and generally Twitter is a good place where people can come together and talk about games. There are people who want to manipulate that into something gross, and people who just want to fight about Xbox versus PlayStation or whatever it is, and they're willing
Talk
to.
about Death Stranding. Let's see how much you love Twitter after that.
Yeah, people like I publicly said that hey, I think it would be a better move for Halo Infinite to be at least the campaign to be delayed if they're going to delay co-op. I said that. I wasn't mean. I wasn't inflammatory.
Like
Uh,
separate the modes.
People were very mad that I would ever
Yeah.
suggest that. They called me selfish. They said that how dare you take this away from single player gamers, blah blah blah. And I was like, yo, I'm always optimistic. I'm always nice. This is just me sharing how I feel, what I think is best for the overall release of this. But when you're, enforcing someone's belief, you're a good guy. When you're opposing someone's belief, you're a bad guy. And that's just human nature in some ways. So I
Yeah,
don't.
well, actually, it's part of the reason I started doing the channel because I just gave up on trying to make everybody happy. Like I get called bias all the time because I publicly said I prefer the Xbox platform, and they're like, "How dare you?" And I'm just
It's
like, "Look, I don't care what you think anymore because like the idea that I can't have a console preference because I work at IGN is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can have a console preference and I can still play Returnal on the PlayStation 5, call it my game of the year, and point out like just how technically amazing that product is. Like, I think there's I can have a console preference and not be blind to the advantages of another platform and the amazing quality products on another platform, right? So it's just sort of like this weird thing where it got to the point where it's like you have to do all of these things exactly, and if you're not perfect, you're evil. And like that's it. Like if so I have a console preference, so I'm evil. Are you serious? No, I'm done with you, internet. I'm gonna like what I like, and I'm gonna publicly talk about what I like, and I'm gonna have thoughts that you might not agree with all the time, and all of that's okay. But I'm like,
Yeah, I think that's
don't cancel
okay.
me because I like Xbox. Like, really? That's where we're at? Destin likes Xbox. Get rid of him.
Get fired. Sorry, you're
Yeah,
gone. IGN's
yeah.
corporate
I don't think
offices.
so.
Um,
And like Per and John and everybody over there is amazing. So yeah.
yeah. So it's interesting, and Twitter can be a place where people want to manipulate what you say. So appreciate the context there. We are going to transition into a another conversation that's kind of been used as kind of fodder, I guess, in these discussions of which platform's better, which business strategy between Xbox and PlayStation is better. And that is a recent conference call with Strauss Zelnick, the CEO of Take-Two, and Phil Spencer. And during this, there was a clip where they were talking about the growth of Xbox Game Pass. And Strauss Zelnick casually said, "What are we at, Phil? Like 30, we're getting close to 30 million, right?" And then Phil was like, last public number was 18 million. So he was pretty quick to downplay Strauss Zelnick's comments. And there's been a debate as to how close Xbox is to 30 million. Are they actually close to 30 million, or was this just a kind of off the cuff random comment from Strauss about the potential of Xbox Game Pass? So what I want to ask you, Destin, is, the last public figure we got was 18 million. We've had Jez from Windows Central come out more recently and talk about figures around 22, 23 million. But we haven't got any official updates from Xbox recently. So what I want to ask you, two parts. Where do you think Xbox is at currently in terms of subscribers, and what do you think Xbox is going to finish the year at once Forza 5 and Halo Infinite launch for Xbox Game Pass?
Well, now I think they're at 30 million. But if you Google Game Pass subscriber number, you get Jez's number of 23 million subscribers. The public number that Microsoft has actually said is 18. So that's where that confusion comes in. So the actual number that is public is 18 million subscribers.
Yes.
Jez had some insider source or something. Love you, Jez. That said 23 million. And then Strauss Zelnick during this interview, and I have to imagine off the air or just behind the scenes, they're talking about everything. And the number we're nearing 30 million popped in, right? And maybe Strauss let that slip. That's what a lot of people think. And that's not so far-fetched. I have to imagine they're at 30 million. I think it's only going to grow from there. It's new. So already you're seeing a lot of people like, is this properly supporting game developers? There was this big story about how people can fly, haven't been compensated. But when you start diving into that story, what you actually see is that seems to be more of a Square Enix issue than an Xbox issue, because those deals are supposed to be struck ahead of launch. And Square Enix isn't stupid. Like the internet assumes people are just like not intelligent. Square Enix is not going to make a bad deal on their end to bring Outriders to Game Pass, period.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they know what they're doing. They struck a good deal. Something is going on with Square Enix, and there's many stories about this, and their partners. Because there's the Nier Automata story. There's all these stories about Square publishing partnerships that have been just sort of fishy, so to speak. And I think this is more people can fly just saying, hey, publicly, something's up. So they said, I don't know if Square struck a bad deal or what's going on there, but I think they purposefully said that because they have investors to answer to. And I'm going way off on a tangent here, but this is a story that always pops in my mind when you talk about Game Pass. Square is just acting weird with their publishing partners, and that's strange. So I don't know what's going on there. You asked what I think they're at. I think we'll be at like 32 million by the end of the year. You're talking about millions of people signing up. They can't even manufacture consoles fast enough for people to purchase them. And that's largely where the conversion is happening, I think. Xbox Series S, I believe, is more readily available. Like every time I go to Costco to get my groceries, I'm cheap. There's signs for Series S. So I have to imagine like grandmas are picking that up. There's a video of a grandma who actually picked one up and reviewed it. And they're just available. So people are able to get their console and play Xbox games, and the Series S is a great entry for Game Pass, right?
Yeah,
Um,
you mentioned, I forget the exact statistics, but Xbox has come out and said that there is X percentage of attach rate when it comes to Xbox Series X and S with Game Pass. So they have
yeah.
said that publicly people who buy a Series X and S are statistically more likely to sign up for Game Pass. So I think that brings up an interesting point about where they're going to end up by the end of the year with these console shortages.
Mhm.
Strauss, as someone who's lived in the corporate world, the corporate sales world, when I hear Strauss Zelnick, a company that is heavily focused on corporate sales, casually mention that line, the way that he said it in this interview so casually makes me believe that there were people within Xbox trying to sell Take-Two on this vision. Because let's be real, there are conversations happening where Grand Theft Auto 6, whatever's coming next from Take-Two, Xbox wants that day one in Xbox Game Pass. And
Yeah.
Xbox is going to these publishers, going to these teams and saying, listen, this is our vision for Xbox Game Pass. Like, we are growing rapidly. We are nearing 30 million subscribers. Earlier in this year, we are 18 million. That is a huge percentage of growth. Here is why you buying into the vision of Xbox Game Pass, launching your game day one on Xbox Game Pass is not only going to benefit you, but it's going to benefit your company, it's going to benefit your developers, and most importantly, it's going to benefit your investors. So the way that he said it to me indicates that someone from Xbox probably said that figure, probably said we are closing in on 30 million. What that means is they're not at 30 million, because if they were, they would be screaming that from the rooftops, no questions asked. If they hit 30 million, there would be a blog post that same day. So I don't think they're quite there yet, but the fact that he said we're getting close to 30 million makes me think that somebody within Xbox sold him on the idea that they are close to 30 million.
I don't think there would be a blog post the same day. I think Xbox needs big news things for upcoming events, and I think that is where numbers will be publicly released, if at all. Um, what benefit do they have by saying that they have, 30 million subscribers? Not really much. Xbox has sort of taken this stance of, we're not going to share our stats, because the story becomes Xbox doesn't sell anything. And their entire business strategy is focused around getting people into the Xbox ecosystem, playing on the cloud, playing on Game Pass, etc. They don't care if you own a Series X, they don't care if you own a Series S, an OG Xbox One now with cloud gaming on that console. So, yeah. But the one story that we did see recently was about the sales in Japan, how that's, increasing, and I know we're going to get to that later. But Benny just posted something about it, and yeah, Xbox is supporting Japanese developers in a tremendously great fashion, and it's really really exciting to see them continue to grow. But when it comes to numbers, Xbox is very hush hush about that these days, because it doesn't benefit them. It is harder to paint the picture of their business strategy than just, we sold however many consoles.
Yeah, they are focused way more on, engagement, the number of people in the ecosystem, because as we've seen with, competing streaming services, not in the video game space, but in the video space, they
Mhm.
want you to stay subscribed to their
Yep.
service. Xbox wants you to buy Xbox Game Pass, and they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that you keep that Game Pass subscription. And they're going to do everything in their power to make sure that no matter who you are, what you like, if you like video games at all, you need to have Xbox Game Pass, and they are going to try to sell you that vision. And they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that these big sports games, these big casual games, games for anyone and everyone are launching in Xbox Game Pass. And that's why they talk about, the metrics of engagement, hours played, number of people doing this, XYZ, because that shows you that people are invested in, because other people are invested, you should be invested.
Mhm. It's so weird to hear somebody like Sean Layden come out and just say, "Oh, Game Pass doesn't work," because like, you do the math on 30 million subscribers, it's millions of dollars every month,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's like, "Oh, it'll never work." I'm like, "Didn't you launch PlayStation Now for the PlayStation brand?" Like, he was key in that initiative, and uh, Sony, who he formerly worked for, invested like 1.5 billion into developing the same sort of technology. So the idea that it's not going to work, it just doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't make sense why he would say that. And I read his quote and everything. Uh, to me, it's a no-brainer. Yeah, you're getting like $200 million, $300 million a month. You can reinvest that in acquiring new properties. You can give that to indie devs to support them in fostering new ideas. Like, to me, like, as long as that money is continuing to be reinvested into developers and stuff, eventually when you do hit, I don't know, 40 million subscribers, of course it's going to be profitable.
Yeah, this is going to be a really boring comparison for people in the video game space, but this is fundamentally how insurance works. When you look at insurance and you say, I pay X amount of money per month for insurance, and then if I get hurt, injured, they pay me $50,000. That makes no sense. How do they make money on that? They are super forward thinking. So you have all these subscribers that are basically pooling all their money, and all that money goes to development costs. And so that development cost is covered as more and more people subscribe. You can start more development. And even though fundamentally speaking, if you look at the sheer cost of a single game, that's not all getting paid out at once. That's getting paid out over a period of 4 or 5 years. So it's easy to do the math and say, yeah, Game Pass can work. So I agree. I don't really understand Sean Layden's comment saying it's impossible, and they would have to have. He threw out some astronomical number. I don't. If anyone in the chat remembers, but it was
$1 trillion.
He's like, you need 5 million subscribers for this, or no, it was like 50 million subscribers, I think, or something. I was like, dude,
it's what, like $100 million to make a AAA game? $300 million, they make that in a month? Like, yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, we have the math. The math shows us this is possible. You can definitely do it. So I don't know. His figure he threw out was just based on nothing in my eyes. I know he's a high level person in the industry, higher level than I'll ever be, but it seemed really out of touch for him to say what he said in my eyes.
I want to understand it, and it, like, his case wasn't very clear to me. And that's sort of my thing. Like, I don't understand what you're saying. You're just saying it doesn't work. Okay, well, why? Like, do the math. Here's how much you would make. People are typing 500 million or something in chat.
Yeah, it was
that's what he said. That's what Layden said. 500 million subs. I'm like, what?
That's right. What? It was astronomical. It was ridiculous. Like, no, if Microsoft would be making like $1 billion a month if they had 500 million. It's crazy. But
yeah.
Let's transition into Xbox at the Tokyo Game Show. Xbox, ahead of this show, said don't expect anything too crazy. Don't expect any big announcements. And they're pretty right. That was fair. Tokyo Game Show on the Xbox side was fairly quiet. We got a couple cool Game Pass announcements. Scarlet Nexus, which a lot of people were discussing as potentially a launch title for Xbox Game Pass, is coming to service roughly 6 months after its launch. AI, the Somnium Files is another one. Day one, or kind of shadow drop in Xbox Game Pass. That was kind of it for big news outside of one little beat that perked my ears up. And that was a segment with Shinji Mikami, the legendary director of some beloved Resident Evil franchises, says that the director of The Evil Within 2 is working on a new project with Tango Gameworks. So what I want to know is, do you like Evil Within? And do you want this to be The Evil Within 3?
If I get that stupid Microsoft Rewards quest for Evil Within ever again, I'm never going to do that quest again. I'm not a big Evil Within fan. I want them to do anything else. Do something new. I'm all good on Evil Within. That's my 2 cents on it. I would love to see Tango Gameworks try something different. Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same camp. I did like Evil Within 1 and 2. I thought Evil Within 2 was a huge evolution of the original. The original felt like this cool, nostalgic throwback to really campy, corny original Resident Evil, which I liked.
Yeah.
Did not care for the stealth elements that they incorporated there. But I would love to see Tango with, under Microsoft now. They are under Microsoft. They have that Microsoft money to throw around. I want to see them really take some time and say, what can we do that we could never do before? Because that's the promise of Xbox Game Studios. That is what Xbox is pitching these teams when they are trying to get them on board. We are going to let you do things you couldn't do before. So I want to see a big, ambitious horror project So again, I would be fine if it was Evil Within 3, but I would prefer something entirely new from this team.
Yeah, I agree. Just I'm not super into spooky, scary games. So for me, do the new thing. I'm all about new IP, new ideas, trying out new things. And part of the reason I like Xbox so much is when you look 2022 and beyond, it's a lot of new ideas. It's a lot of things that either I haven't experienced before, sorry, or entirely new game ideas. Like Avowed is going to be a new IP, right? Something that we've never seen before, and that's an example that I constantly pops in my head. Sure, it's a genre we played before, but who knows what their take on it is going to be, and that's exciting for me.
Yeah, when the Outer Worlds, God, the Outer
Yeah,
Wilds and Outer Worlds, that will never be annoying, not
and
annoying
then
to
there's
me.
Everwild.
Yeah,
Also,
the
yeah.
Outer Worlds, when that came out, everyone's like, "Oh, this is Fallout. This is just a Fallout clone." Blah blah blah. But then when you played it, you're like, "Oh, this is so much more than Fallout. This is a different experience than Fallout." I was
Mhm.
shocked by how much I loved the Outer Worlds. So I'm excited to see the Outer Worlds 2 come out, but I'm more excited to see what that team does with Avowed. Like we know there's the obvious comparisons to the Elder Scrolls and blah blah blah, but I don't think that's fair after what we saw with the Outer Worlds, and I'm excited to see what Avowed actually is.
Yeah, what's Compulsion doing? There's so many like interesting things coming down the line, and to focus on Tango Gameworks, new IP, new idea. Let's see what else you got in the tank, so to speak. I feel like, did Evil Within 2 end on a cliffhanger or something? Like, is that why people would want Evil Within 3?
Basically, yeah, there's some
Yeah.
stuff that's not resolved meaningfully for some folks. So a lot of big Evil Within fans are like, "Yo, like when are we getting the third one?"
Well, do you know how that game sold off the top of your head? Because if it didn't sell well, I think maybe it's run its course and maybe you try something new.
I don't have the figures, but I doubt it. It was during that period where Bethesda's titles were not selling as they wanted. Like Dishonored 2 didn't perform like they wanted. The Evil Within 2 didn't perform like they wanted. And these games all reviewed exceptionally well, so that's got to be frustrating. But
Yeah.
yeah, the sales figures weren't there for the Evil Within 2.
Well, you asked what I wanted, but like really the correct thing we should be asking is, what does Shinji Mikami want? Like, what does
Yes.
he want to make? And Xbox is empowering him to do that. So I'm all for empowering people to allow their visions to come to life. And you know, he's that's certainly somebody who should have that opportunity.
Yeah, pre-acquisition with Xbox, he was talking about being done. This legendary figure in the gaming industry is like, after Ghostwire Tokyo, I'm out. I'm not making another game. Peace, good luck, Godspeed. And then to see him as part of the Bethesda acquisition, like roundtable, I was like, oh, wait a second. Like something about this acquisition has reinvigorated him. Something about this acquisition says, you know what, maybe I don't have to leave the industry. So for me, as someone who loves Shinji and wants to see him involved in projects, that makes me happy. Makes me very, very happy. So as much as people want to say Microsoft's money is evil, you know, there's debates to be had there about acquisitions, about monopoly. But if it means Shinji Mikami's still making games, then god damn it, I'm all for it.
Keep it clean, Miles. Jeez.
Keep it clone. I know I got real PG there for a second. Another kind of legacy Japanese publisher and longtime, you know, once beloved publisher, Konami, has infamously struggled with keeping its properties, keeping its franchises relevant, and, you know, iconic, beloved franchises like Silent Hill, Castlevania, and Metal Gear have been dormant. And some folks have just kind of given up hope completely on some of these. But a recent report from Andy over at the Video Games Chronicle says that Konami is actively working on projects in the Silent Hill universe, in the Metal Gear Solid universe, and in the Castlevania universe. So I'll break these down real quick. Just fundamentally, the report is saying that Metal Gear Solid is coming back in the form of a Metal Gear Solid 3 remake from Virtuos Studio, who previously did ports of Dark Souls Remastered and The Outer Worlds for Switch. Next up, we have Castlevania, which is reportedly being developed internally with the help of a local external studio. So another Japanese developer is reportedly helping Konami work on Castlevania. And finally, the ever going saga, the never-ending saga of Silent Hill continues with the fact that this report reiterates that, multiple, probably 2 Silent Hill projects are being developed. One we assume is Bloober Team. One we assume is being developed by Bloober Team. The second is being developed by a quote-unquote prominent Japanese developer. To add a wrinkle to this situation, Gematsu has since come out and said that this prominent Japanese developer is actually Kojima Productions, and this is going to be an exclusive published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. So there's a lot to absorb here. There's a lot to take in, and as a huge fan of all 3 of those franchises, I'm feeling really excited about the possibilities. But I have to stress the possibilities here. Konami just put out eFootball, which is one of the lowest rated games on Steam ever. It's being memed into oblivion. So I was hopeful that Konami understood the fumbles of their past, but then they released that. And now I'm like, are they going to give these teams a budget? They have Virtuos, which, don't get me wrong, Virtuos has proven to be a solid, capable developer, but they haven't done any big, huge scale, big budget projects of their own. So Destin, you wanted to talk about Metal Gear Solid. How are you feeling after seeing that Metal Gear Solid, one of the most beloved franchises, is coming back in the form of a remake of the 3rd game?
Well, let's talk about Konami really quick. I don't want them to touch Metal Gear. I saw Survive and I'm like, oh, that's what you're going to do? I'm good. And I think they saw that reaction, and I'm a huge Metal Gear fan. I've posted my Metal Gear collection on Twitter before. I love Kojima's work. Played Zone of the Enders, played played all those games. I still have to play the space cowboy game, or what was the one that Kojima did that was really Police Knots.
Oh, okay.
So we need to play through
Yes, Police Knots.
I know nothing about that franchise, but I played basically everything he's ever done, and I'm hopeful that it is Kojima Productions working on a Metal Gear game. Some people have talked about the cut content, but I believe Kojima came out and sort of just said like that was stuff that hit the cutting room floor. Like that was not like some additional ending or something like that people were thinking it was. It was just stuff that got cut. And I think Metal Gear Solid 5, sorry, was like 50 hours, 60-hour long game. Like,
yeah, there's a lot to that.
Yeah,
game.
They had to cut content. I want more Metal Gear. I want to see that story continue. And if it is a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, Nick, I can't remember his numbers, but Nick just did this fantastic documentary about the entire Metal Gear series. Just Google Nick Metal Gear documentary, because it's phenomenal. And he goes through all of the games. It's like an hour or 2 long. I watched the whole thing. And Metal Gear Solid 3 actually didn't sell quite as well after Metal Gear Solid 2. So to see it be remade, to see that game get an opportunity to really shine today would be really, really good. And it's a great starting point for them to say, will this series work? Because they could do it in order, and the order would start with Metal Gear 3, right? And then maybe eventually they could retell the stories of Metal Gear 1 and 2 on the NES, like remake all of those games. And I would love to see that actually come to fruition. The Metal Gear franchise it's so good. It's wacky, it's fun, and it's Nick 930. Check out his documentary if you're into Metal Gear. I don't care about Castlevania, if I'm being honest. I don't care about
Destin, no.
like Silent Hill. I care about that because Kojima worked on it, right? And yeah, so please do something with Metal Gear. Don't just let that franchise die. And like right now, it's so weird because like Nick's documentary came out, and right before that I was talking about Metal Gear, and it just felt like Metal Gear was in a lot of people's hearts or minds, so to speak. And it's just interesting that now we're getting this news that potentially Konami is working on it. Now, I don't remember if it was Konami or if it was Sega, but in Japan, actually, one of those companies just had to close their arcade, and I think it was Konami. Like
Sega. It was that big historic
Sega?
legacy. Yeah, longtime Sega arcade.
Okay, well, I think Konami doubled down on their arcades, and then COVID happened, so I have to imagine that's hurting them. So I'm wondering if maybe COVID has made them reevaluate what they do with their friends. They're like, we have Metal Gear, we have Silent Hill, people want these games. Let's have an intermediary, which is a lot of people hypothesize that Sony is an intermediary or somebody's an intermediary that is going to allow Kojima to work on his historic IPs, as well as probably Death Stranding 2, as Norman Reedus hinted at not that long ago.
Yeah, this whole situation is really fascinating. I'm going to give a quick shout out to the 300 people joining us live. If you are digging the show, hit that like button, share it out. We are live every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. This whole situation is fascinating. The Silent Hill developments for me have been this just ongoing, meme. The rumors that Kojima Productions was coming back to do Silent Hill have been going on for like 5 years. 5-6 years. Like that rumor will not go away. It pops up prominently. People are, it's going to be revealed here. Nothing happens. Next year, it's going to be revealed here. Nothing happens. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's been going on for 5 years. And so I thought, we are maybe done with that rumor because, Konami has said, we're partnering with Bloober Team. Bloober Team is we're partnering with them. And when you partner with a studio that is 99% horror, the assumption there is that you are doing Silent Hill. When that team has worked with the composer of Silent Hill, you are assuming that this team is working on something Silent Hill. So that project might still exist, but this idea that Kojima Productions is working on Silent Hill, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around. We all want it. It is the dream project. Kojima with Guillermo del Toro, if he comes back, just being weird as hell, making a weird, cerebral, heady Silent Hill game. Yes, I don't care what platform that is on. I will play it day one. But with everything that happened between Kojima and Konami, is he really going to make one game, Death Stranding, and then go straight back to working with Konami in any capacity? Like, that is the wrinkle in this equation that's hard for me. It's really hard for me to, especially after how he was treated by Konami. You cannot even be at this award show. You cannot accept this award. Like, how do you, as a creator like Kojima, as a prominent figure in the industry, how do you not take that personally? How do you reconcile that? So maybe they've worked out their differences and this will happen, but I'm still in the camp that I find that very, very hard to believe.
Well, he could be an advisor. He advised on the PSP games for Metal Gear, and those were, collaborations. Like
True.
he oversaw a lot of the Metal Gear games, but he didn't make all of them. So potentially he could come on as an advisor for a truckload of money, and maybe that sort of softens the blow of what Konami did. But honestly, I wouldn't blame him. Like for never working with Konami again and never working on those IPs again. It has to be tough to come to terms with. But you look at the documentary footage and you look at just how much he cares about that team, most of which came with him over to Kojima Productions. Like, I have to wonder if he cares more about the game and being able to tell those stories again than he does about his pride.
Yeah, and that's really what it would come down to. We know he wants to make a horror game. He has said publicly he really wants to make a horror game. Silent Hill, infamous franchise, beloved franchise, would automatically have a lot of eyes on it. And then you attach Kojima's name to that project, and people are interested. The PT saga, that whole situation that played out, is one of the most infamous and interesting moments in video game history. And people still consider PT to be one of the greatest horror experiences ever made. And it was just a small slice of a game that never was going to exist. And people want it. People want to see Silent Hills come back. And this would be that.
What if? So
tinfoil hat time.
Well, I agree with what people are saying in chat. He doesn't want anything to do with Konami, basically. Like, and I would understand that. But what if Konami ends up in a spot where they don't really seem to care about gaming anymore? Like, I don't know what they're doing. It probably makes them money, but what if they eventually just struck a deal and sold those IPs to somebody like Microsoft, and then Microsoft licensed it to Kojima Productions to work on? I think that would be a situation that potentially he would want to go into. But honestly, what I would love to see him do is just create any new IP and create a new saga for Kojima, create a new saga for the vision that he would like to tell. I think he's sort of doing that with Death Stranding.
Yeah.
I think he has a lot of things happening that are interesting, like the rumored game that he's making for Xbox, the cloud-based game. All that stuff is I like that. And I would rather see him be tremendously successful, not having to rely on Konami in any capacity. But I would also love to see Konami give up those IP, which they're just sitting on, wasting. They're not making money on them. Like, let's say they're not doing anything with them. What are they doing? You
They
came out with Survive and it was trash. Give them to somebody who actually cares about making great games.
That's what a lot of fans, myself include, want, because I love Castlevania. I love one of my all-time favorite franchises, and to see the way it's been handled and ignored for so long is upsetting. The sad reality is Konami was making more money than they ever had doing nothing. Their pachinko machines, their merchandise, they make a killing from merchandise because they know the value of these IPs they have with Castlevania, with Silent Hill. And now, thankfully, they've at least restructured the business, and they're looking at what Capcom is doing. And they're like, damn, Capcom is bringing back Resident Evil in a huge way. Capcom is bringing back Monster Hunter in a huge way. Capcom is bringing back Devil May Cry in a huge way. And most importantly, Capcom is making money on all of those. So they're not, bringing these back and having them, get reviewed well, because Konami, quite frankly, probably doesn't care about that as much. But Konami's looking at the fact that Capcom is making a buttload of money bringing these back, and like, we should do that. We should partner with teams. We should do that. We can bring Castlevania back. We can make some money. We can bring Silent Hill back. We can make some money. And that's sadly more so what I think it's about for Konami. But yes, I would love anyone to buy the IP from Konami at this point.
Yeah. I don't know what they're doing. I really don't. Like, what's the last good Konami game they released? Why did they just get out of that market? Like, it made them so much money, and they just said, yeah, we don't want to do that anymore. Or like, it's just, the games are bad. Like, the games that they put out are bad. And you lost a ton of people who truly cared and cared about making these amazing experiences, and they're all gone. Like, you pushed them all away. So, all right, have your pachinko machines and sell your t-shirts, I guess. And the industry will move on without you.
Breaks my heart, but it sounds like there's a world potentially where we get games from these franchises that at least a team who cares about them does, even if Konami doesn't. I hope they're at least putting teams in place that do, because I know, like, Bloober's a controversial pick for a lot of people when it comes to Silent Hill, but that team loves Silent Hill. I've interviewed that team multiple times, and listening to them like fanboy out about working with Akira and fanboy out about how Silent Hill 2 was the reason they got into game development. Like, hearing those stories, that tells me that if that team got to make a Silent Hill, they would put so much care and passion into it. So I don't imagine Konami's going to partner with big budget studios, as we saw with Virtuos reportedly working on Metal Gear Solid 3. Probably not going to be a humongous budget project. If Bloober Team is working on a Silent Hill, they have proven that they can do a lot with a limited budget. So probably not going to be a huge budget title. The red flag for me with this whole Kojima rumor is Kojima Productions would likely want a big budget if they were doing a Silent Hill game. Kojima Productions is a standout in this equation where Konami is strategically partnering with, I'll say, affordable studios. And as we saw with Death Stranding, Kojima, he likes to be extravagant. He likes to have some resources at his disposal, which is, I think, adds more credence to the whole Kojima partnering with Xbox rumor. Because, I'm sure the conversation with Phil was like, what do you want? What do you want to make? What do you need to make it? We can accommodate. We have more money than anyone can even fathom, so just let us know what you need. Konami's not doing that. Konami's not going to anyone and saying, yo, you want $500 million to make a Silent Hill? Here you go. Let's do this. Konami's like, you get 50 million. Good luck.
I think, I had a thought and I lost it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with all of that being said, what I want to actually, I'm going to get to some super chats here. I'm going to catch up on these real quick. Appreciate you guys. You guys are dropping them, killing it. Cinedex says, I am Warden Eternal. Space Dovahkiin says, right now it's looking like if 343 Industries nails the writing, this can easily be the company's first 90 plus Halo. Gameplay and textures look amazing. 90 plus Metacritic Halo. Is it even possible, Destin? Let me ask you that. Can Halo...
Yeah, of course.
Okay. That's all I need to hear.
But they got the gameplay down. Like, the gameplay feels awesome. So
yeah,
they have that going for them. They're working on the graphics. If the writing is equally as good as what we've seen thus far in terms of gameplay, then we could have a winner on our hands. But I mean, let's just wait and see. Like, why start hyping it up like it's gonna be a 90 and then it's like a
95 plus meta.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah, meta.
The servers could explode and it could be not playable for 2 weeks at launch. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen at launch.
Yeah, let's just wait and see. And at the end of the day, like, all that matters is if you like it, you like it, and if you don't, you don't. It doesn't have to be a 90 plus meta to be a good, successful game. And that's
like, chat's saying it's easily going to be above 90. Why do you say that? Like, I don't understand where that's coming from.
It's people want it. And again, a lot of this isn't to downplay what, people's opinions, beliefs. A lot of it is because a lot of Sony fans point to the fact that their games get over 90 meta. And that is now that is the standard that a game needs to be at to be good. And we keep moving that needle higher and higher and higher. So now we have people saying that if a game gets an 85 meta, that it's not that great. And I'm like, wow, why is the needle move that extremely? Like, if Halo Infinite is an 88, that's a banger. That is a huge success.
Well, spoiler warning, but my video is actually coming up on Monday. I believe I scheduled it for. It's about the most important criticism Xbox still has the answer. And it's that Xbox doesn't have a Last of Us. Xbox doesn't have a God of War. Something that marries gameplay and storytelling in a way that is just a phenomenal experience. Like, God of War, stellar gameplay. IGN just gave it its game of the decade or something like that. And honestly, I tried to think of something that stuck with me as much as God of War did. The PS4 game. It worked well on PS4, worked well on PS4 Pro, works well on PS5. It's awesome. The next game is looking to be absolutely stellar. Xbox needs that. I think the closest thing they have right now is Gears 5, right? Something that marries gameplay and storytelling in a way that is great. And I think Hellblade 2 has a chance to be that, but we don't know yet. Hellblade 2 isn't out. Perfect Dark, I'm excited about because that team, the initiative, I believed was created to answer that criticism about storytelling, gameplay, marrying. But we don't know. There's like 50 games that I could list that are coming, but we don't know until we get to play those games if they've answered that criticism. They have answered the look at all the exclusives we have on our console, but okay, where's The Last of Us? Where's the God of War? Where's the Bloodborne? Where's the etc. And I'm not trying to be antagonistic here.
Oh yeah.
I think it is a very important criticism that is pointed that Xbox still needs to address.
Yeah, as Lord Cognito infamously says, just one. Phil Spencer has publicly come out and said they don't want to mirror PlayStation. They don't want all of their games to be that. But having a handful, having one or two, like Hellblade 2, like you mentioned, has the potential to be that. We saw the potential with Hellblade 1. It was a lower budget project, but it kind of fit into that narrative-driven realm with some interesting gameplay mechanics to it. A little repetitive, a little, the same puzzle mechanics over and over, but to see them expand upon that idea, they could absolutely do it. I trust Ninja Theory with gameplay. They know how to make amazing gameplay. They've proven that time and time again, and I'm hoping this fills that story void. But yeah, that is an interesting point, and that's, it's as much as a lot of us here prefer Xbox and that's our preferred platform, it's important to discuss those legitimate criticisms of the portfolio. And Xbox has, I would say, the most diverse portfolio first party wise right now. They have done an incredible job diversifying what they offer, but they still haven't quite filled that gap for people who want that Last of Us. The Last of Us, the infamous Last of Us and the infamous God of War gap. So that is an interesting question.
I have a whole video about it. Watch it over on youtube.com/the Destin channel. Monday, I believe it posts.
Monday.
Yeah.
Space Dovahkiin says, I like and respect Colin's content and opinion, but he clearly let his inner fanboy out in that moment. But
You're
as
watching an edited clip. Go watch the full
but
video.
as an avid gamer is a
Yeah.
normal behavior.
Yeah.
Harjeet Chani, Destin, do you see the pushback for liking Xbox the same for liking PlayStation? I am seeing more calling out of the bias that seemed to be there against Xbox, but just curious if it is something you see at IGN.
5 years ago, I was complaining about Xbox having a lower native resolution, and there's like this infamous image of me with 900p versus 1080p, and I was accused of stoking console wars and all this nonsense, right? It's a fair criticism. Games on the original Xbox ran at 900p and they ran at 1080p. And if you don't talk about stuff like that, if you don't talk about the negatives about your platform and criticize when it's warranted, it will not improve. If you're just like, yeah, I'm totally fine playing at 900p on a next gen console. Yeah, I'm totally fine with 30 FPS or upscaled 720p graphics. Like, I think talking about those things and saying, hey, I'm not satisfied with this is totally okay. And the Xbox community roasted me for years. But I kept doing my thing. I kept talking about what I like, what I don't like. And I'm doing it now with Sony, and I get roasted for still liking Xbox, even though I criticize them when I feel it's warranted. And I criticize everybody when I feel it's warranted. I don't like the $10 game thing, and I'll never let go of that. The $10 the upgrade cost on the
Yeah.
PlayStation side of things, right? And I get roasted for that. People are like, you don't care about supporting developers. I'm like, you're defending a company that is posting record-breaking profits, charging the consumer $10 more for a game that, like, they don't need that extra money. Like, they're posting sales numbers through the roof, record-breaking profits and everything like that, and it's because you're paying more money, right? And they would still be posting record-breaking profits without that. So anyway, that's sort of a little bit of a tangent, but the question, man, this is what happens when I play New World until 4 a.m. The question was, if you like PlayStation, do you get as much guff, so to speak? I'd say yeah, because right now on Twitter, which is where people are seeing a lot of this stuff, there's a very voracious Xbox community, and there's a very voracious PlayStation community, and they're constantly going back and forth. And honestly, it's sort of depressing to just see, like, if you like I work with Jonathan Dornbush, the person who runs our PlayStation podcast, and do I hate him because he supports the PlayStation platform? No, I don't care, you know? And like, does he hate me because I like Xbox? No, we're just colleagues. Like, and I think that's how most normal, sane people react to things, right? So yeah, just Twitter isn't reality. It's not. Stop thinking it is, and that's my 2 cents on the situation.
Yeah, it's a small slice, and I talk about this a lot on the show, but preferring one thing, liking one thing does not mean something else is bad, and you don't have to arbitrarily make it seem like where you prefer to play is better. It's awesome when your preferred platform is better in a lot of ways, and you can point to, I'm on this console for this reason. What I can say is, if you're playing on Xbox right now, be excited that Xbox is in the best place that it's ever been. Xbox has the most resources that it's ever had, and Microsoft is taking gaming seriously, and they're investing heavily. Xbox Game Pass, the best deal in gaming, no hyperbole whatsoever. There is not a service out there that competes on that level. Be excited about that. Celebrate that. If you're playing on PlayStation, PlayStation is still putting out consistently solid, consistently amazing games over and over, and they are making sure that you have a reason to be invested in the PlayStation ecosystem. But yeah, the obsession with making sure that where you play is considered better in the eyes of someone else is a waste of time and energy. And I think most people in this chat understand that. They get that this audience is super cool, and that's why we can have these conversations that, you know, otherwise on Twitter might get heated and might turn into a fight. It really doesn't have to be that, especially when we're talking about video games, because video games are fun, right? That's why we love them. That's why we play them, because they are fun.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I stream and I'll actually just let people call into the Discord and ask me whatever they want, and I don't care. Whatever happens, right? I haven't had anybody troll yet, but it's just like, call in and talk to me. And if we ever have somebody call in and they disagree, it's fine. Like we just talk about it, and that's how the world is supposed to work. You're supposed to be able to sit down with people and have a conversation and have differences of opinion, but still be cordial at the end of the day, right? Like if it gets nasty, what do you do if you, hey man, I really like Xbox, and they just hurl insults at you for like your whole life? You would just not associate with that person, right? So like, yeah.
Yeah. Again, yeah, it can be ugly, and it sucks that it does get ugly because video games are fun, and talking about video games should be fun. And I don't know where this extreme obsession with us versus them in gaming came from. Like growing up playing a bunch of different consoles, like I never was like harassing my friends for having a Sega when I had a Super Nintendo. I would just go over to the house and be like, "Oh, dude, Sonic is sick. Sonic is dope. Let's play some Sonic." He would come over. He'd be like, "Oh, dude, Super Castlevania, this is sick. Let's play some Super Castlevania." And that was it. It wasn't, "Oh, Super Castlevania 4 is way better than Sonic the Hedgehog. Sorry, dude. Sega sucks, bro."
Well,
But
Sega does what Nintendo don't, right? There was a whole
that's right.
marketing
That's
campaign around it, and the console wars and everything like that.
Thanks, Sega. This is on you. Anytime you're mad about console wars, ping Sega because they did. All right, super chat from Binyabik. Awesome show. Destin, what do you think about Xbox improving in or with Japanese developers and getting their support back?
I addressed that during that segment actually because it was a good question.
Yeah, we did touch on that. Busy Dad Gaming. Game Pass is a USP. In business discussions, I'm sure they discuss those numbers under NDA. Sony is also hiring for streaming positions. Sony is literally partnering with their direct competition in Microsoft to make sure that they have an infrastructure that can compete. So Sony gets it. Sony understands what they need to do to be forward thinking. And as much as we want to dunk on PlayStation for not having an answer to Game Pass, they're not going to just sit by and let themselves be irrelevant. It's not going to happen.
In 5 years, when we're all playing on our TVs, we're all going to look back and be like, man, remember when we argued about PS5 versus Xbox? That was silly.
Yeah, I hope there's a time where we can look back and be like, oh, what a time that was.
I think there will still be consoles, but I think eventually we are going to get to the point where streaming works well. Like if Google tried it, maybe we're 5 years out, maybe we're 10 years out, but eventually like the plastic box wars are just gonna go away.
Do you think once the boxes are gone, do you think we're gonna have people still fighting the good fight? Because imagine this scenario. Imagine you're an HBO Max loyalist and you say, Netflix? No, Netflix sucks. HBO Max is so much better than Netflix. I don't think that exists. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
I think at some point it'll get diluted. I think we have Steam as a platform, we have Xbox as a platform, we have EA Origin as a platform, right, for just distribution, Epic Games, and I think that's where we're going to go versus plastic boxes. My plastic box is better than yours, and even Sony getting in on the PC ports and stuff like that should be a big sign of them wanting to increase their profit margins. I mean, that's really, they have to increase their profit margin numbers by X% to make their shareholders happy and to make their bosses happy, right? Same with Xbox. Like Satya Nadella is not going to support something he thinks is not going to make money. So clearly he believes in the initiatives that they've set forth for the gaming industry. And I think it will get diluted over time. Like you don't see people talking about how great Steam is or Epic Games Store is. Epic, like with a DRM on Epic Games Store, people would actually be negative about it. But like eventually it's going to be more about the games and less about the platform you decide to support in my mind.
It's going to become way easier to play your God of Wars, your Halos, whatever the big exclusives are, if we live in a world where you can just sign up to a service, you can sign up to a subscription service, and you get to play that. It's going to make these games accessible to way more people. And the bottom line, like you mentioned, for a lot of these companies, it's going to make them more money. And as much as they want to be seem like they're our friends and they're doing what's in our best interests, fundamentally, they are trying to make money off us. And so they're going to do whatever it takes to make money off us. And hopefully it's a win-win. We get good value. They make money. Everybody's happy. But they want to make money off us.
Of course.
Super chat from Space Dovahkiin again. He says the Sawyer Project. Fire. I'm blanking on this. Do you know what
I
this
think he
is?
was talking about Silent Hill or something like that. Because
Oh,
that one
okay.
popped up, and I haven't heard of the Sawyer Project, but sure.
Okay, we got a super chat from Mr. Joanna Dark here. This is an involved one for you, Destin. He wants you to. Here, I'll read it. Sorry.
I missed that one.
I just had it. Sorry. Bear with me here. Chat's been off the chart. Destin, rate all the Metal Gear Solid games from worst to best.
Metal Gear Solid 3 than everything else.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter, really.
He's gonna say, "What's the GOAT?" People love
3, Metal Gear Solid 3, Metal Gear Solid, and then sort of like everything else is like Metal Gear Solid 5, probably. I don't like that they changed the voice actor.
Kiefer?
And then like after that, it's sort of like all pretty close, right? So I don't really care.
Perfect. Space Dope. Sorry, go ahead.
Wait. Joanna Dark also asked, would you like a Metal Gear Solid game where you play as Liquid or Solidus? No. Snake.
Snake and Snake
boss.
only. Yeah. You were very upset about not playing as Chief in Halo, so I can understand that.
Raiden. It's Raiden in Metal Gear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Raiden. And if I'm saying it wrong, I don't care anymore. That was interesting, but like apparently that was done to garner a larger audience for 2, and it seems like it worked because Metal Gear Solid 2 was like the biggest one, but I rather would have played a Snake through the whole of the story.
Space Dovahkiin says Starfield is going to be game of the decade. Fire.
I hope so, but again, these days, man, I just like keep my expectations here, and if they go here, hell yeah. Am I excited about Starfield? Hell yeah. But I'm not going to go around touting that it's going to be game of the decade, because we'll end up with another Halo 5 situation. There's things that have happened in the history of gaming that have taught me not to overhype anything anymore.
Yes, the lower the bar is set for you, the more you'll be pleasantly surprised. You know, it's fun to be optimistic, but just be aware that sometimes things don't go perfectly with the video game you want. Harshy Chani asked, do you see Red Dead Redemption or GTA like God of War? Why is God of War considered that much better? The more you say things like this, it pushes to Xbox to buy Take-Two. So do you think Red Dead Redemption, which is regarded as this, game of the decade contender, is on the same level of a God of War, a Last of Us?
Yes. But it's on everything.
Exactly. Not an exclusive. Not an exclusive. So,
and like this is what pushes Xbox to buy Take-Two. I'm like, if they buy Take-Two, sure, whatever. Like,
what is that price tag?
I don't care about the plastic box wars because I can just play everything on PC. Sony's the only one holding their exclusives for like a year and then charging for them again, right? So on Xbox, like you just get everything anywhere you want to play it, which is great. Now I'm not faulting Sony for that strategy. Like I would have to think about like how I feel about that more personally, like the double charging. Phil Spencer's been very clear about how he feels about it. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting because Xbox has set up this ecosystem where they want to go wherever you are. Obviously, they have the console. They're not going to stop supporting the console. They want to sell their consoles, but also when you think of Xbox, you don't think necessarily of strictly the box anymore. So when you buy a game, it's implied that you're going to be able to play it on your PC, you're going to be able to play it on your Xbox, and you're going to play it on your phone. And PlayStation seems to have a hard divide. Their console audience is one audience. They're going to sell that game to that audience at this price. And then once their audience is done with that, later on, they'll bring it to PC. And that's a completely separate audience. Like those are different people. Those people aren't invested in PlayStation console-wise. And so we are going to recharge and resell them this same game to essentially double dip.
Yep, you can double dip, and it is a old school business strategy, if we're being honest. Like that's an old way of thinking. Sony has set up their platform as the Apple of the gaming universe, basically. Like we believe in the the hardware. We believe in the games that we're developing. We've brought studios on board who create the kind of IP and the kind of ideas that we want to see on our platform, and we're going to continue fostering those. And clearly it's working. Like, I can say I don't like that they've double dipped on PC gaming. I don't like that they charge $10 more for gaming or whatever, but they're winning. Consumers clearly have spoken with their wallet and they don't care. They'll say they don't care, but they'll buy that $70 game day one.
Yeah, they again, Sony's not going to.
They'll buy it again on PC. Sorry.
Yeah, if they're making money, Sony's not going to change their strategy.
Yeah.
Sony wants to make money, and this is how they're making money. And you know, if people buy it, then why fault them? People always complain about Nintendo being anti-consumer. Nintendo is bad, whatever the case might be. But the reality is, Nintendo is a business trying to make money, and if they can sell a lazy port of a game for 3 months and people buy it, and it's the #1 selling game on Amazon, I'm talking about the Super Mario 3D collection, why on earth would they change their strategy at all? Like, if they can do minimal work and make a ton of money, then they're gonna do it. And it sucks for us who you know are invested in the space and directly compare what Xbox is doing, what PlayStation is doing, what Nintendo's doing. We can say, Nintendo, why aren't you doing what Xbox is doing? And Nintendo's saying, because we're making a buttload of money doing what we're doing, and so we don't need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Amazon bestsellers, besides gift cards, like, you start getting into the actual console things, it's a lot of Nintendo Switch stuff, right? Nintendo Switch is number 21 still. Nintendo Switch, the number 21 most popular item when you go to Amazon bestsellers, and above that it's like 3 or 4 Switch games. So this idea that, like, Nintendo's the king.
Yeah,
Zelda is still number 16. How long has Zelda Breath of the Wild been out, right? And Switch is number 21. How long is, and Switch, we talk about 4K and we talk about 30 versus 60. Nintendo Switch,
720p 30. Let's go.
21. You know?
I always joke about how I wish we had a hardcore, loud, obnoxious Nintendo fans who were like, yo, God of War sold 10 million. That's a flop. Mario Kart 8, 35 million, baby. Like,
yeah.
Nintendo crushes it, but again, I don't think the Nintendo hardcore are in the arguments of Xbox versus PlayStation, because they're just on their island, doing their own thing, buying games and having a good old time.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to 2 more super chats and we're going to transition to our final topic of the show. RRD says, Destin, would love to see you and Colin talk.
I actually did one of his first fireside chats. He came back to San Francisco and we talked. And so if you want to hear us talk, we did that like 5, whenever that happened.
Whenever that was.
Whenever he left. Kind of funny. Yeah.
Another super chat from Space Monkey 0899. He says, Metal Gear Revengeance 2 would be my dream game. Bonus ray tracing for Doom 1 through 3. All right. The Game Awards was officially confirmed for December 9th. And it was officially confirmed as an in-person event this year. Things have been weird the past few years, and that's an understatement. A lot of in-person events have been canceled, and we've seen a lot of digital-only events. So to have the Game Awards come back this year as an in-person event is pretty fascinating. What I want to ask you is, what are you expecting from announcements this year at the Game Awards? Because we've already seen good old Jeff Keighley has already started teasing some big announcements.
Something from Kojima, like, he'll be there. He just always hangs out with Jeff.
Yeah,
something from Xbox, something from Sony, and some awards handed out.
Dang, you're playing it pretty safe. Pretty safe.
I have no idea what to expect from the Game Awards. Like, COVID sort of screwed everything up, so I have no idea what to expect, and that's kind of fun, right? It's kind of fun to go into a show having no idea what you're going to be seeing, and I like that's exciting to me.
Yeah, the possibilities are what is really exciting, and I like Jeff's shows a lot because he always has surprises. As much as there's the insiders, as much as there's the people obsessed with trying to have all this information ahead of time and know everything that's going to be revealed before it's announced, Jeff always manages to sneak in a few legitimate surprises. So For me, that's exciting. I like to be surprised. I like to see a new game reveal, a trailer that I didn't know was coming, because it's not that fun when somebody's like, "Hey, this is coming," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess I know now. I know this is coming," and it takes away from the impact of that trailer. Just
Yeah.
seeing the fade from black, seeing some mysterious figure standing in the shadows. You're like, "Ooh, what is this?" As opposed to, "Oh, I know what this is," and that's not fun. So
Yeah.
I think Xbox will show up in a huge way at the Game Awards this year. That is what I'm expecting. In terms of what they will show, they have a lot of options. They could show gameplay for Hellblade 2. They could show another teaser trailer for The Perfect Dark. They could show what In Exile's working on. They could show what Compulsion's working on. Like, there are so many projects that are announced that we haven't seen, and there's so many projects that are unannounced that we haven't seen, that Xbox has so much potential to really bring it. And if
Sorry, Miles, I thought you were done.
oh no, and if the indication of Hellblade 2 and the reveal of the Xbox Series X is any indication of how they perceive the Game Awards, I would kind of assume we'll see something big.
What would make you go holy S?
Holy S. Oof.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be one that some people probably already know about, but nobody gives a damn except for me. That Phantom Dust reboot that was canceled. That Phantom Dust reboot that was canceled is coming back. That's my holy S moment. Or we see that Kojima exclusive from Xbox. I want to see, if this is an in-person event, I want to see Jeff come out and say, I'm excited to bring my good friend Hideo Kojima out on stage, who's going to talk about his next project. Kojima comes out on stage. They're buddy. And then Phil Spencer from the top ropes comes in and he's like, I'm honored to partner with a legendary figure in the gaming industry to bring this vision to life. And here's the trailer for X. Boom! Kojima Xbox exclusive, and it's a horror game. That's what I want. What about you? What's your holy S moment?
I think they did it for Metal Gear Solid 5, but I wouldn't be mad if they did it again, like presented by Kojima Productions, and then kept you waiting, huh? And like it's Snake, it pulls off the goggles, like I think also like something about Splinter Cell would be just phenomenal. Like Michael Ironside's voice, pops on, and seeing him come back. What's that beloved 360 JRPG that came out on the 360?
Lost Odyssey?
Yeah, a Lost Odyssey game, like a remake exclusive to Xbox. That would probably make me go holy S. And there's one more, Legacy of Kain.
Ooh, yeah, that's one that's been in the
would make me maybe cry.
Oh, okay.
Like, that's how happy I would be.
Oh, that's one that's been in the rumor mills for a little while. Like some kind of Soul Reaver something maybe exists. I haven't heard anything, but people want it to exist.
Yeah, I don't know what else would nothing off the top of my head, but I Soul Reaver is one that I've been championing for a long time. Just remake the original games, like you don't even have to do much. Just modernize them in the way that they did with like the Resident Evil games recently, and I think it would be pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, I would be absolutely down for that. I'm kind of expecting, and maybe I'm gonna jinx it by even saying it, but I'm kind of expecting the new Silent Hill. Honestly, I am.
Yeah.
I am expecting that because Konami was going to be at E3. Konami said they were going to be E3, and then they said, actually, we're not going to be ready, but we'll have stuff to show on some of our bigger projects later in the year. And this was during a time when everybody was talking about Silent Hill, and everyone always talks about Silent Hill, but we had not data, but we had stuff to suggest that it was real this time. And I don't care where it is, what exclusive it is, who's making it, just please announce a Silent Hill so we can stop obsessing over indie games like Abandoned, so we can stop having these wild conspiracy theories about Kojima's alter ego and AI impersonators, and we can just have this game out, know where it's coming, know that it exists, and move on with our lives, please. We're stuck in like a Silent Hill limbo that we'll never never stop.
Here's my thing about Silent Hill. If it's not PT, the whole conversation will just be this isn't PT. And if it's not in a collaboration with Kojima Productions, after all the drama surrounding what happened with PT and Silent Hills, if there's no association there, if there's no connection to that original vision, there will always be the question, what if? So I don't think Silent Hill has a fair chance with that looming over the franchise.
It's going to be an unfair comparison, especially for, let's say, Bloober announces it. Let's say the Game Awards, we get the Bloober announced Silent Hill game. We see some gameplay, we see a trailer, and it's not in the style of PT. People are going to be upset. They're going to be like, yo, this is not what I wanted. This isn't Kojima, and it's not even in the same vein of Silent Hills. Boo this team. So
yeah,
it will suck if Bloober's at Silent Hill gets announced first, for sure. So Game Awards should be exciting. Are you going? Did you get that sick invite?
No.
Oh, okay.
Even if I did, I don't think I would go.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get an invite because I'm not that cool. But I would go.
Not one of the cool kids. I like hanging out with the people, hanging out in the bleacher in the what's it called, the nosebleeds.
Hanging out with the common people in the nosebleeds. Yeah, that's what it's about.
Well, it's a different perspective, and I don't mind it. I kind of like sitting at home watching, honestly.
Yeah, it's definitely more convenient. That's for sure. All right, well, we're coming up on 2 hours, so we're going to wrap this up. Destin, thanks so much for hanging out, man. This was a blast. Time flew. Once again, for all the amazing folks hanging out with us, where can they find you? You teased your spicy vid dropping on Monday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I talk about the criticism Xbox has to answer. I believe that's coming out Monday. It's either tomorrow or Monday. I can't remember. So check that out over on youtube.com/the Destin channel. I'm going to be back at IGN next week, so be sure to check me out on Unlocked. And IGN, largely I do management stuff these days, so it's a lot of like budget work. And every once in a while, though, I sneak away and I do something called a performance review. I do that in collaboration with Michael, known as NX Gamer. He does a phenomenal job. He is so smart, and he has such a unique insight into what games are being published. So check out that series. It's sort of like what Digital Foundry does, but we try and do it just a little bit differently in how we present it. So that's something that I've been very proud of over the last few years at IGN. So that's what I got going on.
It's been awesome to see your channel kind of explode in the way it did, and having this outlet to kind of experiment with these different thoughts and ideas. And it's awesome. I love the format. I love the kind of, the personal touch on it. And it's cool to see that as an outlet now that you're, like you said, you're more on the management side of things, more the numbers guy. So it's cool that you still have that outlet to get out there.
Yeah, if anybody said you're not allowed to talk about games anymore, I would eventually just go. I have to. Like, it's just built in my DNA, and if I wasn't able to do that, I wouldn't know what to do. So having these conversations is great, Miles. It's great talking to you today. I really appreciate you, taking the time to set all this up, do the production work, invite me and deal with me not responding, and just having faith that I would be there on time. And I always keep my word. So. Thanks for having me. This was really, really fun, and I appreciate it very much.
Oh, absolutely. Again, really appreciate you taking the time. To everyone who joined us today, thank you so much. We will be back next week, Saturday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and have a fantastic weekend, everybody. Take care.
Bye, everyone.